Hello, my name is Nicole Bixler, and I'm a board-certified osteopathic family physician. And it's my honor to be able to share my experiences and my perspective with you today about where I think the osteopathic profession is. So my perspective comes from being a first-generation physician who had no other influence for becoming a physician other than my own personal osteopathic family physician who took care of 4 generations of our family. Seeing the true meaning of holistic in his approach to the care that he provided our small community had such an impact on me, even before I probably even realized it. The spark that was further ignited by my education at Philadelphia College of Osteopathic Medicine and my residency training at Frankfurt Hospitals is truly what got me to where I am today. Now that I can reflect on 20 years of being a DO, I can see that the acquisition of knowledge and experience is only complete when it's woven together with exceptional interactions with colleagues, mentors, and of course, our patients. A complete physician needs to be able to combine the intellect with the emotion, or rather the body with the mind and the spirit. As DOs, that is part of our DNA, if you will, and is by far our greatest asset in looking to the future of our profession. Our greatest opportunity is clearly defining what is quote unquote distinctive about our philosophy. And then how do we instill that over 4 years of medical school and make it last through someone's entire career? With our current educational environment of having no solely osteopathic internships and residencies, which I was fortunate enough to be able to have in my training, the burden of this education currently resides with the colleges of osteopathic medicine. But I believe that solidification of what it truly means to be a DO comes from the mentor-mentee relationship. These are the relationships that need to start earlier in a physician's training, even in the pre-doctorate level, to instill the value proposition of osteopathic medicine. We need to take a very proactive approach in soliciting mentors that relate to the students of today. Our profession has grown and diversified immensely, but there is still sometimes a disconnect between those that lead and educate our profession and those that we are trying to have remain engaged within it. Evolution and change certainly is the constant with everything in our life, and our education and our profession is no different. So we have to make sure that our mentees and future physicians can see their reflection in their mentors. As a national leader myself, someone who is truly a full-time practicing physician, a mother, and a wife who's also married to a full-time physician, it has not always been easy to find a role model that speaks to me with all of those roles. But it has been extremely refreshing for me to be able to see younger female physicians that are currently paving that same path, so that I might be a role model to them. They need to know that you can do it all, and that it is supported within our profession 100% unconditionally. Therefore, we need to seek out ways to create touch points with our medical students to show how being an osteopathic physician can mean different things to different people, but that we still all have the same central tenets and values. We can always look to our past and to the foundation that got us to where we are today, but we need to continually embrace changes that will make us more relevant. We cannot get so caught up in our history and our traditions that we lose sight of the present. We need to engage pre-medical students to believe that an osteopathic education is the gold standard medical education because of our patient-centered approach, be it hands-on or not. Clearly, COVID and the proliferation of telemedicine shows that osteopathic physicians cannot just tout that our touch and OMT is what we are all about, but rather our all-encompassing approach to a patient. We need to be able to demonstrate that in ways that we may never have had to have done before. And I may certainly be biased as a family physician, but I truly believe that our stronghold in primary care needs to be celebrated, needs to be encouraged, needs to be spoken about more. But I can assure you, our allopathic brethren want to know what our secret sauce is as to how we get 20 to 25% of our graduating medical students to go into primary care or family medicine, when they traditionally hover at about 6 to 8%. We're obviously doing something right in that domain, and we need to keep encouraging it. With the number of schools that we currently have, and as we all know, they are continuing to expand and develop, it means that the number of DO family physicians in this country will soon equal the number of MD family physicians. And we should be shouting that from the rooftops. We have always been considered a minority in number, and this is one field where we actually could be a majority in the near future. There should be no reason that every portion of the United States cannot receive care from an osteopathic physician. That is truly exciting for our entire profession, because if a patient's initial interaction is with an osteopathic family physician or primary care provider, then certainly that will pave the way for their future interactions with other osteopathic specialists. I also believe that we have a very unique opportunity to engage our allopathic colleagues and our mid-level providers by sharing our OMT knowledge. Although medicine is continually changing rapidly with new technologies and new medications, there's something pretty unique about being able to heal someone simply with your hands. Sharing that knowledge with those who've never been able to have the opportunity to attend an osteopathic medical school or be trained in that fashion is an avenue that I don't believe we have capitalized upon enough. We are often so focused on making ourselves to be so distinctive instead of sharing what actually makes us distinctive. We need to share that wealth of knowledge if we want that knowledge to continue to expand and be accepted and well represented. We need to do it before someone else does it before us. We don't want other people to seek out that knowledge somewhere else. They should be seeking out from us, as we are the purveyors of that knowledge. So I feel there are some potential avenues that would allow us to certainly succeed in these manners. One, we finally need to come up with the definition of what the osteopathic distinctiveness is. We should have a collective statement for all osteopathic physicians to refer to when asked that very significant question. We need to be on that same page. Without that, it becomes sort of an individualized response. And so certainly a collective approach is always the best bet. Two, fostering more opportunities to allow medical students and physicians who are newer to practice to engage in a mentor-mentee relationship. Very specifically, diversifying that pool of mentors in gender, ethnicity, practice type, age of practice, so it better reflects the current needs of our graduates of our medical schools. I think it is so critically important. I am someone who does teach medical students myself for the last 15 years. And I even know in my tenure, my ability to relate to some students has changed because it is different. And without continuing to engage mentors that reflect that in our mentees, we are going to lose sight of being able to truly have those relationships in our profession. Three, focus on the present achievements in osteopathic medicine by our younger physicians, still showing potentially a relevance to some of our past and our tradition, but really focusing more on the present. I am certainly very proud of our osteopathic heritage, our foundations. But for so many in our profession right now, if we keep focusing on what happened 50 years ago, 70 years ago, 100 years ago, it is completely not within the realm of what their focus is. Just thinking about what happened 20 years ago is already sort of in the past to them. And so remaining relevant and focusing on what our achievements are today, I think is quite phenomenal and would be a much better use of being able to expand that camaraderie within our profession. Four, fostering the primary care background and its relevance to the needs of the overall healthcare system in the United States. specific campaigns that show that DOs take a primary role in caring for the people of our communities and providing those services better than anyone else. Again, my bread and butter is doing such a thing in a rural and underserved area, being a family physician. And I really do think that that is a role that is done all over the country, but not necessarily seen on the billboards or in the advertisements or many of the other things that we do to show what our profession is all about. 5, develop tracks for mid-level providers to learn OMT so that they can understand the principles on which we actually are providing care to our patients. If we expect to partner with them, if we expect to actually lead those teams as physicians, we need those people that are working with us to be on the same page, philosophically, educationally, and certainly with something so unique as our OMT knowledge and our background. So I think there'd be no reason why we shouldn't be able to provide CME tracks for those that are as mid-levels and certainly as our allopathic colleagues. Number 6, working with SOMA and our pre-SOMA chapters to heighten the awareness of osteopathic medical school as the best option for medical training. I had the opportunity as the Florida Osteopathic Medical Association president to work with the University of Central Florida pre-SOMA chapter, and I was blown away. They knew more about osteopathic medicine than even some of my osteopathic medical students did. And I thought that was such a phenomenal experience. So expanding that in our colleges prior to medical school is going to be the way to truly be able to have more students want to go down the path of osteopathic medicine. So in essence, we need to expand those pre-SOMA chapters. They are the pipeline that will then get our students into medical school and then engage in our profession for many years to come. So certainly when you're talking about what things we could do to make changes or to expand upon some of the things that we're already doing, there's always the concern of, well, are there intended or unintended consequences about change? I'm probably a perpetual optimist, but I think that the only unintended consequence is if you don't change. Change is our way of the world. Things happen so fast. We all have a hard time keeping up. So without really engaging in the fact that that is who is going to be leading our profession in the future is those that we are teaching now and adapting to the way that they see the world and the way that they would like to learn and the way they would like to be mentored, we're going to sort of not be caught up with the times. And we absolutely have to keep changing with them if we want them to be a part of our profession. So I don't believe there really is a consequence of the change other than the unintended of not changing. So I hope that by explaining some of the things that I think that are part of what we need in our profession to continue to be relevant, to continue to be the premier profession in medical training, is that ultimately we do need to continue to evolve. We do need to rest on our roots, but we absolutely need to lay down more so that our current generation of physicians has something for them to reflect upon and say, I was there when this happened, and that we continue to expand this profession as we already are doing. So I thank you for listening to me for a few minutes, and I appreciate that. And I will now turn it over to the rest of my colleagues. Thank you.